Hello, everyone. Welcome to the When I Work live webinar. We're going to be getting started in just 1 or 2 minutes. I want to make sure that everybody who wants to join is able to join before we get started. So hang tight and we will be getting started here in just 1 or 2 minutes. While we wait, feel free to chat with us. You can use the chat button on the webinar toolbar. You can let us know where you're joining us from, what kind of work you're scheduling and time tracking for. That's always really fun for us to get to know you all a little bit better before we get started. When I Work does schedule for users globally and nationally. So wherever you are joining us from, feel free to let us know. We always get someone from somewhere really far away and really cool. So let us know where you're joining us from. And When I Work also does schedule for users that have all different types of setups, all different types of companies and use cases. So whatever you are looking to schedule with us, let us know. It does help us kind of direct the webinar a little bit. And it's very interesting for us to get to know all of your businesses a bit better. All right, I'm seeing just a couple of people are still joining. So I'm gonna wait just a couple more seconds here. If you all do want to chat with us, let us know where you're joining us from or what kind of work you're scheduling and time tracking for. Feel free. We have worked with When I Work for quite a long time now. So whenever I do hear what kind of work you all are scheduling for, it's very exciting because When I Work is really great for all different types of setups and use cases. We have seen all different types of companies come through. All right, just saw one last person join, so I think we can go ahead and get started. So I just want to welcome everyone one last time to the live Q&A. We're so happy to have you all join, and we're excited to help you get started with When I Work. My name is Marie, and I'm joined by my teammates, Tiffany and Ethan. We're part of the customer onboarding team here at When I Work, and our mission is to help new users transition to When I Work as smoothly as possible. So during the next 30 minutes, we're going to be answering your When I Work questions. We're going to show you some ways that you can schedule your team, track time for your team, and communicate. But the topics are going to be directed by the questions that you all ask us today. The questions are going to be flowing in. We'll get to as many as we can. If your question doesn't get answered or you come up with a new question, we will always be available to chat with you one-on-one. So we'll be providing you the resources to get yourself set up and to communicate with us and contact us at the end. If you're totally new to When I Work and just checking out the different plans that we offer, we're also going to outline all the different plans that we have and how you can upgrade your account at the end of the webinar as well. So stick around for that if you're interested. So during this session, you can ask questions on the Zoom toolbar with the Q&A button. So you can pop all of your questions in there. Tiffany is going to be going through those questions and asking as many as she can out loud. She might rearrange them based on where we are in the tool, or she also might type some back to you based on how many we can get to out loud, but we'll try to get to as many as we can. I'm going to share my When I Work account before we get started and show you a little tour of my account. All right, so this is my When I Work account. This is the dashboard. I am logged in as the admin user. So the admin user essentially is just the user that has the highest access level privileges on the account. There can be 3 admin on every When I Work account. The top menu bar here is the main navigational center for When I Work. This is where you can access all the different tools within your account. So right now I'm in the dashboard. This is really nifty. This is going to give you a snapshot of what you're seeing for the day. So your schedule for the day laid out by hours, who is currently clocked in, on breaks, clocked out. any attendance notices that you might need to know, who's no-showing, who's late. And then we also do provide with a couple of graphs and any helpful tools to get a snapshot of what your day is looking like. This top menu bar, again, this is where you can navigate to the different tools we offer. So our scheduler here, this is where you will create shifts for your employees. You will be creating your shifts in the scheduler here, publishing out your shifts so your employees know when they're working. The attendance tab, this is where you can access your timesheets, your time tracker. This is the landing page for your When I Work time and attendance platform. The work chat tool, this is your in-app messaging system. So your employees can chat in here, you can chat to your employees, and it's just a way where you can all communicate with each other. This can be turned on and off. On the right-hand side of the top menu bar, you have your settings. So first, if you hover over your name, you'll get your profile settings where you can add in information into your profile, see your schedule, view your availability and your alert preferences. This is very similar to what your employees are going to see, where they can see their schedule, set their availability, things like that. Then hovering over the gear icon, this is your settings area. You can find your general settings for your whole app, scheduler settings, attendance settings. The integrations tab, this is where you can set up integrations that connect your When I Work account to a payroll processor, and your account and billing page. This is where you can manage your subscription. And then your workplace menu. This is one of the most important menus in When I Work. This is where you add in the building blocks of your account. So things like adding your employees, your positions, job sites, different schedules that you have. And all of this information will help you build out your shifts and build out your schedules. And then last but not least, our tray icon. This is our request center. This is where you can manage all the requests that come to you in your When I Work account. So things like open shift requests, if you're using our shift bidding tool, you can respond to those requests here. Shift coverage requests. So if your employees are swapping and dropping shifts and you have manager approval turned on for that, those will show up here for you to accept or deny. And then our time off requests. If you have manager approval turned on for that, those will show up here. And this little button here allows you to add in time off for your team. So with that, I'm just going to be starting off in the scheduler and we can get started with our questions.
Awesome. Our first question is, how do I input availability for my employees and what does that look like on the scheduler?
That's a great question. And I'd probably say this about every tool in When I Work, but it's a really, really cool tool. I always say that the availability tool is a kind of mutually beneficial tool for you and your employees. And that's because your employees are able to tell you when they are available or when they prefer to work and when they prefer not to work. So then you or any other scheduling manager can look in the schedule and do your best, if you want, to schedule around those preferences. So your employees are happy and you, on the other hand, your employees are showing up for the shifts that they are scheduled to work. So everything runs a little bit more smooth. And you can turn this tool on and off. We know it's not the right tool for every workplace, and you can turn that on and off in your scheduling settings. So your employees can enter their availability on their end. They can do that on the mobile app, or if they're logged in on a computer like I am now, they'll hover over their name and just click My Availability. They'll be presented with a calendar. From there, they can click Add Preference onto the days that they're looking at. They can either choose I'm unavailable to work or I prefer to work. They can choose all day or a certain time within that day. And then a really helpful tool is the repeat availability tool. So they can repeat their preferences every week, every 2 weeks, every day on specific days. And this is because a lot of times when employees are inputting their availability, it's because it's going to repeat. They are part-time employees, maybe they're students, and they're always going to have class on Thursday mornings, and they'll never be able to make shifts on Thursday mornings, even if you schedule them for those shifts. So that can be very helpful in this case. So once they've made their preference, they'll just click Save. And then back in the scheduler, you can see this on your end. So an availability preference will show up as a green tab, and a unavailability preference will show up as a gray tab on the corners of the shift cells. So if you see that there is a preferred availability, you can go ahead and click into that cell to schedule your employees for that day. All of your pre-made shift templates will pop up in this section here. And if the template has a thumbs up on it, that means that it is not conflicting with that preference. So those are great shifts to offer for your employees. You can even create a shift based on your employees' preferred times if that works for your team. If you see an unavailability preference here, you can click into the cell to schedule for that day. And then any of those pre-made shift templates that are conflicting with that preference will be grayed out. So it's kind of indicating that you might not want to schedule your employee for that time. But I do want to point out that the unavailability preference and the availability preference, these are just preferences. They're not official requests or time off. So make sure that your employees know that before starting using the tool. So for example, here, if you have an unavailability conflict, you can still schedule your employee for that day. It's not an official time off like what you see here, where you see I can't schedule the employee for this day. But you can schedule your employees over an existing preference. You'll get a little icon, a red icon saying that you've done this, but it's totally okay. It's just a preference to help you guide the schedule. So you can go ahead and move it over to a different day or a different employee if that makes more sense.
Availability is such a great tool that we offer. Our next question is, how do I create a shift? And are there any shortcuts available?
Great question. We do have a lot of shortcuts when it comes to scheduling for your team. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you communicate your schedule, but also to help you make scheduling fast and easy. So the first way that you can just create a shift baseline is just by accessing your scheduler, clicking into a cell that corresponds with the correct employee and the correct day. And then from there, you can choose a shift template, a pre-made shift template. You can just click that in and that will schedule out that shift template. Or you can click into the cell and create a custom shift. So the anatomy of a shift in When I Work consists of a start and stop time. You can choose an unpaid break to add in there. You'll choose your position. So what kind of work will be done on this shift? You can add even a job site, tags, or shift task lists, and then you'll be clicking save. And that will save that shift and it will look like one of these shifts in here. And then I'll go quickly over a couple of shortcuts. So the first, and I love this shortcut. It's really helpful. And I just mentioned it. It's called Shift Templates. So to create a shift template, you'll hover over the Workplace menu and then go into your Shift Template landing page. Here's where you can create all your shift templates. And essentially, again, these are just snapshots of shifts that you can save to use at any time. So to do that, you'll just click Add Shift Template, fill out your template and click Add. And then back in the scheduler, when you go to schedule an employee again, all those shift templates will pop up based on your employee's qualifications, so which positions they are assigned to. I also recommend using the copy tool. If the copy tool is something that you need in your workplace, you can copy individual shifts by clicking the command button, clicking down on the shift and dragging and dropping the shift. So you can see this just duplicates the shift and you can add that same shift into any day and any employee. Also remember that you can always drag and drop shifts really easily into other cells if you need to make any changes. Changes are very fast and easy to make in When I Work. Then the wrench icon here is really helpful for any shortcuts that you have. So first I'll go to a fresh week in here. You can use the wrench icon to copy the entire previous week into the week that you're in. So click on the wrench icon, click copy previous week. I'm going to allow conflicts, and you can copy that over very quick and easy. And then the last tool, actually, I'll go over two more tools. So the second to last tool I'll go over is the schedule template tool. So similar to the shift templates, you can snapshot any entire week's schedule to use at any other time. So to do this, you'll create your schedule that you're looking at and that you want to save. Use the wrench icon and click Save as New Template. You'll give that a name and a description and click Save Template. And then in any other week that you need to schedule in, you'll click the wrench icon again and load in a template. I've created a ton of different templates in my account to kind of explain why you might need templates. Things like if you have a default schedule that you always like to use, works for everyone, and you just want to schedule that into any week. Maybe you have a template for different months and you want to keep those templates for those months. That works too. Open shifts coverage, and then you can also create rotations using your templates. So creating different rotations and loading those into any weeks in a pattern. That's also really helpful. And then the last tool, really quickly, that I'll go over back in my scheduler here is the repeating shifts tool. I've talked about this with a couple of customers today already. So to create a repeating shift, just open up your shift and click the repeat button, and then you can choose how frequently you want that shift to repeat. This is also helpful in creating rotating schedules, or if your schedules are the same week to week, that's also very helpful in creating a long-term schedule.
Shortcuts are probably my favorite feature. They just make everything so much easier for you when creating shifts for employees. Our next question is from Brenda, and she'd like to see how you can add a job site into a shift, but it sounds like a great time to go over what schedules and job sites are too.
Great question. So I'll go over the two different ways that When I Work has created to allow you to schedule shifts at different locations. So the first one I'll go over, because the question is specifically about this. The first one I'll go over is job sites. So the job site tool essentially is an assignment that you can add on to a shift to allow your employees to know where their shift is taking place. So to create job sites in your system to begin with, you'll just hover over the workplace icon and click down into job sites. You can import a larger list if you have a ton of job sites that you use, or you can create a single job site here. You'll choose a name and a location if you have one, and then you can also add in any other notes that you might need to know about this job site. Once you've added in your job sites, back in the scheduler, you'll see your shifts. When you schedule and create those shifts, you can add a job site onto that shift. So now you can see this shift is 6 to 1:30. It's going to be the barista position at location 1. So when you go ahead and save that in there, you can see that I have a couple of shifts at different locations. This is a shift, for example, that doesn't have a location or a job site added to it. But this shift here has location 2 added to it. This shift has location 1 added to it. So you can see that all these different schedules are going to be taking place at those different locations or those different job sites. So again, that is just opening up the shift and adding it into the job site area. And a helpful tip when you are using job sites, I know that you can sometimes have a lot of different job sites that you are working with. So over here on the left-hand side, you can always filter your schedule by job site. So you can choose to only view one location at a time, for example. And that is helpful when you have a ton of job sites that you're working with and you want to make sure that you have adequate coverage for those different locations. So job sites, again, is just one way that you can indicate different locations in When I Work. And it's really helpful for if you have a lot of those sites. So, and if those sites are ever changing. So maybe a client-based company, like a security company, construction, at-home healthcare, those are all different reasons that you might want to use the job site tool. The other way that you can create locations in When I Work is going to be the multiple schedule tool. So multiple schedules essentially allows you to click back and forth between multiple schedule grids. So to create a different schedule in your account, you'll do kind of the same process. You'll hover over the workplace icon, click into schedules, add schedule. And then you can see right now I just have 2 schedules in my account here, West and East. Back in the scheduler, you can hop back and forth between the different schedules that you've created. Over here on the left-hand side under schedule, click the down arrow and you can move back and forth between the different schedule grids that you have. So this is helpful if you have, I always say, a limited amount of locations. So maybe you have 2 coffee shops or 3 retail locations. Or maybe you want to divide your team up into smaller teams or your larger organization into departments. That is a great use case for the multiple schedule tool. Maybe you are a healthcare organization and you have different departments like nurses and lab techs and doctors, and you don't want to see them all on the same schedule. That's a great use case for multiple schedules. So again, you can move back and forth between the different schedules that you've created. And on the back end, your employees are going to show up on the schedules that they are added to in their profiles. So going into my employee list, you can assign the schedules that you want your employees to show up on within their employee profiles. So once they are assigned to the correct schedule, back in the scheduler here, they'll show up on whichever schedule they are assigned to. So backing up again, schedules and job sites, 2 different ways that you can indicate location in When I Work. And I just want to quickly, before we move on, point out our help center. If you pop open the help center, you can search keywords or questions like job sites or schedules. And we have a whole article dedicated to helping you figure out if you would rather use schedules or job sites. So take a look at that if you are interested.
The Help Center is just so awesome. It's so well done. We have so many great people that have worked on it. I highly recommend checking it out. And our next question is from Amanda. She's asking about some open shifts and how we could kind of make those more prioritized, and then also how you could limit your first group of, trying to rephrase this a little. So basically, can employees sign up for the shift before everyone else and then open it up to new employees? So show how to like limit the employee list and such, please.
Great question. So we do have an open shift tool, and there is some ways that you could maybe open up the shift for certain amounts of employees or certain employees before opening up the shift to all the employees that maybe are eligible to take that shift. And I'll go over kind of all of those options. First, I'll kind of explain what the open shift tool is for those of you who don't know. So like we showed earlier, you can assign shifts directly to your employees, and that's just by clicking into your employees and adding in those shifts. But if you don't want to assign your shifts directly to your employees and you prefer kind of more of a self-schedule or an open schedule, you can use our open shifts. Open shifts are essentially just unassigned shifts. By default, your employees can grab open shifts, first come, first serve. So when I add in a shift into my open shift area, you can publish out those open shifts. And then at that point, whoever is qualified to take those open shifts can pick them up first come, first serve. So for example, maybe I have an open cook shift here. So all of the employees that are assigned to the cook position in their employee profiles will be eligible to pick up that shift. So they will get a little notification that's saying that there's new open shifts available. And then at that point, they can go into their app or their computer, log in and grab that open shift if they want to work that shift. There's 2 different ways that I would say that you can give priority to certain employees to grab shifts. So the first way that I would recommend is by using something that we call tags. A tag you can think of as just a second layer of qualification for a shift. So the first layer would be the position, second layer would be the tag. You can add tags in just like you can add positions. You can add tags here, and you can maybe create a tag that says like senior or first round employees. Once you create that tag, you can add the tag onto the OpenShift. You'll do that the same way as you add a position or a job site. You'll just add in the position. So it might be priority. Maybe you have priority employees that you want to offer the shift to first. So you'll add the priority tag onto the shift and then publish that shift out. At that point, only employees that are assigned to both the correct position and the correct tag will be able to pick up that shift. If nobody from that group picks up the shift, you can at that point open up the shift, take the tag off, and republish it. And then it will be open to employees that are all assigned just to that position. And the sub tag or the sub qualification will no longer be necessary for your employees to grab that shift. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense or answers the question a little bit. But the second way that I would add kind of a layer of priority to a shift would be the shift bidding tool. So again, by default, employees can grab the open shifts, first come, first serve, based on their qualifications. But you can turn on a tool that we call shift bidding. So popping open this shift one more time, I'll use an unpublished one here. You can require pickup approval for the open shift. So if you have pickup approval turned on for your shift and you publish that shift out, you can see the little icon there. That will essentially allow your employees to raise their hand or say, I'd like to pick up this shift. Once they raise their hand or ask for that open shift, you or another scheduling manager can go into your open shift requests and then approve a specific employee to pick up that shift. So maybe you have a couple of those priority employees that have requested to pick up the shift, you can choose them first. And then they'll end up working the shift. But if you have none of those special or employees that you would rather have that shift and just the other employees requested to pick up that shift, you can then give it to those employees, if that makes sense. I used a lot of words for that. But so if you want to kind of have a little bit more of a say over who's grabbing those open shifts and maybe give it to a priority employee, I recommend turning on the approval tool. And again, you just do that by opening up your open shift and clicking to require pickup approval.
Awesome. We got a lot of questions on our scheduler stuff today. And so I think it's time to go over Marie and I's favorite options, which are all of our clock in options that we offer.
It's true. It is one of my favorite tools. Tiffany's right. The time and attendance add-on, I always say, works so beautifully with our scheduler if you want to have a really streamlined employee management platform from When I Work. So we have 3 different methods of clock in if you choose to turn on the time and attendance tool. So I'll go into my attendance settings to actually show a little bit more. So the first way that your employees can clock in and out in When I Work would be using a personal computer. So if this option is turned on, your employees will be able to log into their computers just like I am now, hover over the attendance tab and click clock in. They'll do the same then to clock out. The second way that you can have your employees clocking in and out with When I Work is to create a terminal. This is the most similar to a traditional time clock terminal, where your employees will come into the workplace, they'll see the terminal to clock in, and they will use that to clock in and out. You can create a terminal on a computer by logging into your account, hovering over attendance, and clicking lock as terminal. Or if you want to create a terminal on a mobile device, you'll just download the When I Work terminal app, and it will walk you through setting up a terminal on that mobile device. The terminal will essentially kind of take over and lock your computer or your mobile device as a time clock machine. Your employees will come into the workplace and clock in using that machine. It will look like this. And then your employees will be able to enter their employee ID or their email to clock themselves in, and then the same to clock themselves out at the end of the day. And then the third, and I always say most popular way for employees to clock in and out in When I Work is clocking in with the mobile app. So if this is turned on, your employees will see a big green button at the bottom of their When I Work mobile app when they're logged in. It will say clock in or clock out, and they can just use that to clock in and clock out. And never fear, if you do have the mobile app or the computer clock in options turned on, your employees can clock in and out from wherever. If you have a ton of remote employees, that's awesome. But if you want to ensure that your employees are at a certain location when they are clocking in and clocking out, you can always turn on the geofence in order to make sure that your employees are at the right locations. So to do that, you'll just be clicking these two little buttons, and this will restrict your employees' clock in and or clock out to their location that they're at or where they should be working. You'll just then choose the distance, so how far away your employees need to be from their scheduled location. This creates the geofence. And then if that is turned on, your employees will not be able to clock in or out if they are not on site. So that's very helpful, giving you a peace of mind that your employees are where they should be and actually working when they are clocking in and out.
Looks like that's all we have time for. Thank you so much, Marie. You're so amazing.
Thanks, Tiffany. All right, so as promised, we have a couple of information packets for you all. So first, we'll go over the different plans that we offer, how you can upgrade your account, and then at the very end, we'll send out the information packet with all of the information to get in contact with us or all of our other resources that we have. So first off, we have two different plans based on the size of your company. So the first plan is the small business plan. This plan is right for you if you have under 100 users. If you have over 100 users, you'll be on our enterprise plan. And the enterprise plan is the best for larger businesses because it essentially just has extra tools that fit larger business needs. So things like access to our API key, global privacy, single sign-on, all that good stuff. But if you have under 100 users, you'll be on the small business plan. So of course, if you think you might want to be on the enterprise plan, always just contact us and we'll get you all the information you need. But the small business plan is going to include all of the tools that we talked about today. So the scheduling only platform is going to include tools like creating shifts, so team scheduling, the availability tool that we talked about at the beginning, work chat, so communication, job sites, multiple teams, so creating locations in your account, open shifts like we talked about at the end as well. All of those good tools are going to be in the small business scheduling plan. If you have a need to track your employees' time as well, which I always recommend, you can add the attendance add-on to your plan. The attendance platform is going to include all the tools for clocking in and out and tracking time for your team. So if you need any of the clocking abilities like clocking in and out on your mobile phone, computer, or terminal, integrations to payroll processor, which are really cool. All of those tools are going to come with the one attendance add-on. So the nice thing is that you can upgrade your When I Work account on your own by simply logging into your profile. Once you've logged in, you'll hover over the gear icon and click into account and billing, and then upgrade my account. From there, you'll choose which plans you want. So by default, scheduling and messaging is turned on, and then you can add the time clock and attendance add-on if you need it. By default, we do a monthly billing. So we bill month to month, no contract. But if you would like, you can choose annual billing. So you pay for the year up front. And the great thing is you get a 5% discount if you choose that. From there, you can choose checkout and you can choose how many users you need. We bill in groups of 5 users. So you can choose 5 users, 10 users, 15, 20, 25, etc. So once you find out which user tier you want to be in, then you can reaffirm which tools you want and which billing cycle you want, and then you can click out and add your billing information. So it's really just as simple as that. So if you have any questions about this, we're always here and ready to answer any questions that you have. You can contact us for some one-on-one help via live chat or email. Live chat can be found within your account via the chat bubble on the lower right-hand side of your screen. And then you can also reach us via email at gettingstarted@wheniwork.com. We're always here to answer questions, like I said before, questions that you have when you're getting started. If you have any questions on which plan is right for you, or if When I Work is right for you, if you come across any troubleshooting as you go, we are here to help you make this transition seamless, and we're here to support you. So if you take a look at the chat button on the Zoom toolbar, Tiffany has sent out all of the resources that we have for you to take a look at. So we have some pre-recorded demos, our training center, where you can access your setup and training videos, which I highly recommend taking a look at, and then all of the links to contact us for some one-on-one chat or email help. So take a look at those. Those will really help you as you're getting started. We will leave that up for a couple of minutes also after this session, so you can always take a look as you go. So that concludes the session today. Thank you all for joining us and taking the time out of your day to be here. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the day. Bye, everyone.